Naughty Dog's jaws have once again crunched down on its workers. The beloved first-party dev behind Uncharted and The Last of Us is in the spotlight again for its brutal crunch practices. Crunch is endemic to the games industry. It's part of the industry. All the major publishers do it, and some to a lesser extent than others. To get a game shipped, developers have to work months of ruthless overtime, sometimes leading to mental and physical breakdowns, emotional outbursts, and general malaise and depression. Naughty Dog is among the most notorious for its brutal crunch practices. A new expose from Kotaku's Jason Schreier delves deep into the trenches of Naughty Dog's culture of crunch. Over a dozen separate sources paint a bleak picture of the dev studio's practices. While working on The Last of Us 2, dev faced long hours, months of crunch, and inefficient workflow pipelines jammed up by junior staffers. The sources chronicle tales of overwork, hardship, and mental distress while working at the perfectionist studio. One anonymous Naughty Dog developer told Kotaku, "This can't be something that's continuing over and over for each game because it's unsustainable. At a certain point you realize I just can't keep doing this. I'm getting older. I can't stay at work all night." The game's recent delay to May 29th didn't do anything to stave off crunch. In fact, the studio doubled down on crunching. It basically gave the developers more time to work harder, not easier, to get the game finished. There's lots of pressure at Naughty Dog to make The Last of Us Part 2 an incredible game. As one of PlayStation 4's marquee single-player games, Naughty Dog is expected to once again redefine what's possible on the console with The Last of Us 2. Pressure is nothing new for the studio. Naughty Dog is used to feeding the beast, as they call it. And since The Last of Us 2 is a single-player only game, Naughty Dog only has one shot to get it right. They want to make it count, and even if crunch erodes their staff like a colossal tidal wave. Kotaku's article is consistently eye-opening, but the most damning evidence comes from ex-Naughty Dog animator Jonathan Cooper. According to Cooper, one of his close development friends was hospitalized while working on The Last of Us Part 2. Here's what Jonathan Cooper said on Twitter. "For the demo shown last September, the gameplay animators crunched more than I've ever seen and required weeks of recovery afterwards. One good friend of mine was hospitalized at that time due to overwork. He still had over half a year to go. There have been others since." That's absolutely crazy. People are hospitalized over this game. Weeks of recovery time. Cooper left Naughty Dog in September 2019 due to the company's mismanagement. The animator says Naughty Dog is no longer the best. Nobody wanted to work at the studio because of all of the horror stories about crunch. Here's what Cooper said. "The reason I left is because I only want to work with the best. That is no longer Naughty Dog. Their reputation for crunch within LA is so bad it was near impossible to hire seasoned contract game animators to close out the project. As such, we loaded up on film animators. This really clogged up the pipeline." Cooper finishes off by saying Sony's thick wallet helps Naughty Dog buy more time for its games, and developers of course pay for it with merciless crunch. Cooper's words echo those of BioWare employees who also went through brutal crunch for Anthem and Mass Effect Andromeda. BioWare currently has a big morale problem stemming from mismanagement and inefficiencies at the studio. Anthem pushed many devs way past their breaking points. It was so bad that some developers had mental breakdowns while working on these games. BioWare actually has a phrase for these breakdowns. Internally, BioWare refers to these breakdowns as stress casualties, as if it was an ordinary part of the workday instead of a serious life-disrupting medical event. Here's the real question. Is it worth it? Will all of those long hours be worth the accolades? The missed birthday parties? The missed anniversaries? The mental breakdowns? Naughty Dog wants to be perfect, and the studio knows that they can do it. But at what cost? Just because they can, doesn't mean they should.